to fly again. A few days after Joshua died, I was blessed to have a very close friend fly in to stay with me. I shared with her my intent of honoring my son with a special ceremony on the beach in the next day or two, coinciding with the time he was to be cremated. I hoped she would join me. Without hesitation, she agreed. And a mutual longtime friend was in town that same week. She felt that it was no accident, and she was here and now with me during this time of such personal devastation. I invited her to also participate in my ceremony. Many years before, the three of us became close friends while living near one another on Long Island. Having them here with me now, their physical presence and emotional support, was a balm to my soul. Both knew Joshua well and grieved his loss with me. On the day of Joshua's cremation, set for 1 o'clock that afternoon, the three of us drove to the beachfront where we would pay tribute to my son. Before arriving at our destination, I needed to first stop along the way to find a special object for use in my ceremony. It would represent the symbolic releasing of Joshua's spirit at the time of his cremation. I knew just the store and found what I was seeking: a palm-sized, rounded clay figurine of a Native American mother cradling an infant to her bosom. I saw this figurine as a symbol depicting what was in my heart and would be forevermore holding my Joshua to my bosom, together as one for all eternity. Without pausing, and filled with deep gratitude for what Spirit provided, I scooped up my purchase. It was almost 1 p.m. and time to head over to the oceanfront. I do not believe in death. Death of the body is merely a transition from form to the formless, with one's soul now liberated to continue on its journey, whatever, wherever that may be. The location I planned for Joshua's ceremony was on the beach across the street from the Association for Research and Enlightenment, more commonly known as the ARE. This landmark spiritual center is devoted to preserving and sharing the metaphysical material given through Edgar Cayce. Whenever Josh flew in for a visit, we would often come to this very stretch of beach. He loved coming here with me before sunrise. We had some time before dawn to lie on the sand and gaze in wonder at the star-filled sky. Together, we attempted to identify the constellations that seemingly floated above us. This was such a special time for us, tender moments between mother and son, connecting on a level beyond the world. Joshua also felt a deep connection to dolphins. He always looked forward to the possibility of seeing them at this beach. More often than not, we did. At sunrise, several would show up, the icing on the cake during our visit on that particular morning. Josh loved to watch those delightful creatures as they frolicked with one another out beyond the waves at break of day. What joy I felt in seeing my son without a care in the world during those times. This was the perfect place for my ceremony to honor him, holding loving memories of special times we shared here. Without knowing it at the time, what transpired for my two friends and me, once we began our ceremony on this beach, would become forever etched in our minds. As I stood at the oceanfront, it was hard to believe that Josh left this world 5 days ago. Reality hadn't fully set in as yet, that my baby was truly gone. I would never see his face, hear his voice, or hold him in my arms again. I held on for dear life to my trust in spirit, while immersed in inexpressible grief and loss, hoping I wouldn't go under. It felt as though I was walking in my sleep, all so surreal. Yet I was on a mission this day and refused to allow my anguish to overcome me, to prevent me from doing what I must do to honor my firstborn. The three of us began our ceremony by first praying for my son. At the designated time, I took the figurine of the Native American mother holding her child and brought it to my heart. I told Joshua he was, is, and always will be in my heart, and I would be holding him forever, as symbolized by this figurine. I then walked to the edge of the surf alone. My friends remained on the sand several feet behind me to allow me some privacy. I stood there another moment or two in quiet prayer before flinging the figurine out into the waiting arms of the ocean. What happened next left me breathless. Out of the blue, literally, a lone seagull appeared overhead. The beach was totally deserted on this chilly, overcast autumn day, except for us three. There were no other birds to be seen but this one. The gull flew over the spot where the figurine entered the water and just hung in the air, wings fully extended. It appeared suspended by an invisible wire. It hovered in this space, perhaps 10 to 12 feet above the water, for what seemed like an eternity. We three stood motionless, watching this scene in stunned silence. As I continued to observe this seagull frozen in midair, all of a sudden, it hit me. The memory of one of my last conversations with Joshua. Josh and I were discussing the book, Jonathan Livingston's Seagull, several days before he died. He deeply related to that story. He also felt like an outcast, as did Jonathan. And now this strange experience with this unusual seagull on this empty beach today, taking place at the very moment of Joshua's cremation. I thought, no way. Impossible. Yet could it be that somehow, some way, it was possible, and in fact, was happening, that Joshua was making his presence known symbolically through this unexpected appearance of the gull? Unable to control my emotions, I began to laugh and cry all at the same time. And with arms raised, I called out to the seabird, seemingly motionless above me, "Hello, Jonathan! Have you come with a message from Josh for me?" It seemed that once I made the connection between that very recent conversation with Josh and the unusual circumstances surrounding the appearance of the seagull today, the bird's mission was accomplished. It then glided over to where I was standing. And after landing several feet from me, looked at me for a few moments before taking flight once more. I turned to my two friends in utter astonishment. to express what had just happened for me, what I believed the appearance of the gull represented. They were awestruck, as was I. We all had the same sense of being witness to some mystical encounter after observing the seagull's strange behavior. And now linking this gull to Josh's very recent conversation with me about another very famous gull, we felt it was much, much more than mere coincidence. Without any doubt, in my heart, I knew I had been given a sign from Spirit that Joshua was now flying free, unbound from the limitations of the life he endured. The memory of the encounter on the beach with my winged messenger has not faded since Joshua's transition. I feel certain it will be with me always, as is Joshua, in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. Even now, by simply closing my eyes, I can still see my seagull as it delivered its message to me on that unforgettable day, and still feel the presence of Spirit reassuring me that Joshua lives on, despite appearances to the contrary. No other comfort but an experience such as this one could have given me the relief I so desperately sought in the face of losing my child. Through the Spirit of grace, I knew I had been blessed. My gratitude was, and remains, beyond words.